Hello and welcome to another episode of Corgi Town USA here in our third season. I am Candy. In my lap is Chuckles in the studio. I also have the rest of the Corgi committee, Booger, Hammer, and Mortimer Barnabas, who is barking and trying to take down the equipment and just being his normal Corgi self that we love him for.
Right.
We typically have our fearless executive producer and co-host Kat Napoli in the studio, but she had a little bit of car trouble this morning, so she's joining us from her satellite
My
desk
studio.
there. Yeah, your studio, but she's also having some internet issues over here. So hopefully everything will cooperate and the stars will align so we can
Yeah,
present this episode to you.
absolutely. Absolutely. And here I am in my studio with Digby in his usual spot under my desk, Wiggin, the honorary corgi, just outside of my office, and of course, in the bedroom taking a nap. What else do they do? Are the cats who don't want to be our honorary corgis at all, Naboo and Starlord.
For the cats, you exist at their convenience, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm in at their convenience.
The corgis are happy to oblige and enjoy life with you and go on adventures. The cats just want you there when you are convenient, like feeding them and things.
Yeah.
Pet
Pet me. I'm done.
me, love
Goodbye.
me. Yeah. Well, if you are new here, we every week have a fresh episode about the corgi lifestyle and living with corgis and dogs in general. For you parents out there, how we can best support you, training, grooming, traveling with your corgi and dogs or other fur children. We are
Yes.
happy to bring you some content. And this is a part, today's episode will be part of our creator series.
Ah,
So we bring on artists and creators who either have corgis or create corgi content, and we like corgi things as corgi people. We
we
like
do.
books about corgis, art about corgis, different things, jewelry, some of the wonderful creative people that we've had on our show. Today we have author Joni Franks, author of Corky Tails. Should we bring her on?
Absolutely. I
All
love
right, let's
corgi books.
let's bring on Joni. Joni, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Oh, well, we really appreciate your time and telling us about your art. Please tell us how you became a writer.
Well, I don't have a traditional story because I didn't set out to be a writer. I became a writer as a life change event, really, for me. I was working, I had a good job, and I had been in business my whole life. And I decided that I kind of had enough of that. And I took a big leap and I quit my job and I sold a house. And I bought another house in a remote area of Colorado where I live in the mountains. But this time the intention was to take a break and just see what comes and kind of figure it out. For the first time in my life since I was 16, I wasn't going to work. So that was kind of scary in itself because I had no idea how I was going to occupy my time. I'm a busy person. I like to stay busy. I don't want to just sit around, too young to retire. So I sat on my covered porch in my mountain cabin and I just hand wrote out a story about me and my little corgi Sagebrush. And it was really just a tribute to her. And I wrote it over a few weeks' time, and I never envisioned that it would be a book. And then I read the story when it was complete to my partner, and he teared up and he said, "You need to publish this." And so that set me out on a quest to learn how to even go about doing that. And honestly, at that point, I wanted one book, just one little coffee table book for me as a tribute to my Corky Sagebrush. And that's how it kind of started, but it isn't where we are at all today.
Well, that's such a heartwarming story, though.
Thank you.
I love how you got started. And so originally, so you're an accidental author here.
Yes.
So I think we just lost Kat. Darn it. Hopefully she'll be back. But since you're an accidental author, this is a series from what I understand. Did you start out it being a series or were you just going to write a book and it became a series?
That's exactly what happened. I wrote a story and then I self published as an indie author into one book. And with that book, I got multiple copies of it from my publishing house. And so then my friends were interested in what I was doing. And so I had some books to sell. So I sold to my friends, and they took these books to their grandchildren and their children, and they traveled all over the world with them. It was just a set of circumstances that was sort of meant to be. When they come back, they would tell me, "Oh my gosh, the kids love the books." And my most heartwarming story is my friend who bought my book and took it to South Africa and for her grandchildren, and they were too young to read. But the oldest sibling, when read to, was memorizing passages and then reciting passages of the book to his younger siblings. And what was really funny, he was 5, and he would come out with all these attitudes like, women can be ranchers and dogs don't need tails. And I was like, what? So I told my publishing consultant about it, and he encouraged me to turn it into a series. And I had absolutely no idea what I would write about. So I thought about it for a while, and many years ago, I dreamed about these little people called the shuns, and I remembered these dreams my entire life. And at that point in my life, I was getting ready to build a house on a piece of property that had never been lived on. And I dreamed about these little people who lived in the hollowed out trees, and that they had been made homeless. People were afraid of them because they were so reverent to the earth and to Mother Nature. And so I took the concept of the shuns and incorporated that into my second book. And now people are like, are you still writing about the shuns? So they've kind of become a human race, but they're the little people, and they're in most all of the Corky Tail books.
That is so fun.
Yeah.
So
Little
that's
people like little dogs. Little
uh,
people like
the whole fairy story of the,
Yeah.
you know, the fairy saddle, the little fairies riding, the whole thing. So that's the whole concept in all of the books.
So you've worked in some of the corgis being the steeds of fairies folklore.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it.
And
Yep.
for those who didn't hear about it, because I had a corgi for a little while and did not know about that. Joni, would you care to elaborate on that for us and let our audience know about that?
The legend of the corgi
Yeah.
and how it came to be. There's a story, it's Celtic. And in those days, there was a battle. And there were 2 little corgis that became homeless. Their owners were killed in the battle. And so the fairies, feeling sorry for the corgis, took them to a farm where humans were. And the humans had some human children. And so the fairies gifted the corgis to the human children. But the old story is that the corgis pulled the chariots and carts of the little people in the Celtic times. So I incorporate all of that into the stories.
That warms my heart. The first time I had heard about this, the legend of the fairies, when I was growing up, we had a corgi named Kira, the first one in the family. And when I became old enough to get my own dog, that's when I got my Lilo. And the most precious boy there ever was. And he was I got him in 2004, and the breeder had given me a bunch of paperwork on him with his parents were show dogs, so I got some kind of AKC information, but included was a little booklet about the legend of the fairies and the corgis being fairy steeds. And so many of their markings, and it depends on their sable, fawn, red, or the tricolor, they have some markings around their shoulders, and they call that their fairy saddle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that was I was so fun reading that because, of course, I hadn't heard it before, and when we'd had Kira, and so getting to know that was great, and thank you for sharing that with
You're
us.
welcome. You're welcome.
So tell us how you got started with corgi. So we love hearing about sagebrush. Tell us about sagebrush, and tell us about how you got started with corgis.
Well, when I was younger, I raised dogs, but I raised big dogs, and I raised cattle in another part of my life. But at this point, I really didn't want Labradors or big Siberian Huskies. I wanted a little dog. And so I was living in a tiny little town called West Cliff, Colorado. And a friend of mine had corgis, and I didn't even know what a corgi was. And she brought the parents first to me, let me meet the parents. And then I decided that I would get a corgi. And then when Sage was a part of that litter, I picked her out. That's been over 12 years ago. My Sage turned 12 on the summer solstice. So, and she's my first corgi, my only well, she was my only corgi and my heart dog. And then 2 years ago, I got Gizmo, and he's my baby boy.
Oh, Gizmo. Well, happy late bark day, Sagebrush.
Yeah.
My goodness. And how can you tell us about the name? How you got the name Sagebrush?
Well, being living out here in the Rocky Mountains, I just love sage. I harvest it. I make sage bundles, and being from the Midwest, coming out to here to the West, sage just fascinated me. Because we don't have that there, and the smell of it, and so it was dear to my heart.
She has a regional name.
Yes, very much so.
It's much like your characters being of the earth.
Yes,
Name.
definitely. Yes, yes.
So, do you write other types of fiction? So we know that you're an accidental corgi mom, so to speak, and you're an accidental author.
Yes.
Do you write other types of fiction as well?
I'm so glad you asked, because I have a first book in a new series, and I'm so proud of this book, The Crooked Forest, Legacy of the Holy Stone. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a series that was similar to Corky Tails, but for an older audience. And I really had to step out of my comfort zone, because the Corky Tail books have been popular. People love them, and it's been good to me. It's been a blessing. But I wanted to go a little deeper, especially into Celtic folklore and legend. And so I wrote this adult book, The Crooked Forest, Legacy of the Holy Stone. Maybe I could just read you a poem from the front, because I've added poetry, and this will give you a theme of the book.
Please do.
Okay. When the winds of change come blowing, as they surely will, may the gust blow soft and warm, gently on your skin. May your soul be firmly sown with the seeds of bravery, and may your journey be illuminated by your own strong energy. So this is The Crooked Forest, and this just won a Colorado Independent Publisher Evie Award for Best Bronze Award for Best in Women's Fiction, and illustration for an adult book. So I just got back from Denver, and that was so wonderful, because this is Gizmo's book. Sir Gizmo is in this book, and this is his series.
Oh.
And there he is on the back, my little Gizmo.
Oh, congratulations.
And I have the second book written, so this is a continuing series, and there'll be more of those.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Okay, so Corky Tails it's a children's book, or would you say family book?
It's a family book. I like that, because what has occurred is it was definitely written to reach the children.
Mhm.
And I wanted to take different issues that are close to my heart and incorporate it into the storyline. But I've been so fortunate that a lot of adults, dog lovers, buy my books as well. So you can kind of see the books, and just there are 6 in the series.
Okay.
I talk about equality, deforestation, women being ranchers, little dogs that are born without tails and are labeled and bullied for what they don't have, and the fact that they look different, and they can't be real herding dogs because they don't have a tail. I write about forest fire, because the Hayden Pass fire was within 10 miles of my home, and very up close and personal. So I wrote a wildlife fire prevention book, and a lot of firemen and smoke jumpers buy that book. I wrote a book about the floods that followed the fire, because some of my friends became homeless due to that. Their homes were lost and will never be back. And then I wrote a dark sky preservation book that's about light pollution. And then I have a book on homelessness. And it's been translated to Spanish, which is lovely. And then I have a Corky Tail coloring book.
Oh my goodness.
So got the gamut covered here on these.
Yeah. Well, I love that you're approaching these, I mean, very real issues, but I have to commend you on delivering it in such a way because our world is so terse. It's so like there's so many things going on right now that are just so heavy for so many. And mental health has been a very important topic in the last few years with the pandemic and with pollution and the economy. And there's so many things going on. And our poor environment is starting to show us, hey, we've been abused for a while. Dial it back. And so I think it's wonderful that one, you are talking about this, but two, that you are delivering it in a way that sounds so delightful. And that's a hard kind of line to cross, I think, to deliver a message on these are very real issues. We need to pay attention to them, right up from bullying all the way up to forest fires, that we need to pay attention to this. We need to talk about it. But there's a way to talk about it in a way you can bring awareness, but it's also entertaining and heartfelt and fun to read about.
Right. And some of my
Digestible.
reviews, they've said, oh, she's not preachy. And that was the goal. Because if you're just trying to reach a one-sided group, then the goal hasn't been met. So I
No,
try to
true.
write it in a way that's non-offensive and that will just be mind-opening and maybe based on fact
Mhm.
and care and love for Earth. And so that's really when I retired from business, I wanted to do something with my life where I could give back and make a difference because, as you say, the world is just crazy these days.
Yeah.
And I started out writing to politicians who never wrote back. And then I thought, well, I'm going to channel my energy into this. And that helps me to focus. So these books are for me as well, because I put my heart into this and it helps me because it's problem solving and resolving. And they're fairy tales. They have a controlled ending.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. And I'm sure I'm like many in the audiences. I like to read books or watch TV and movies to escape reality
Exactly.
because reality itself can be kind of tough.
It is very tough.
Yeah. Well, thank you for writing about that and sharing that with us. And I think it's wonderful. I'm going to share for those who are viewing on YouTube, you can see the banner that I've shared has her website where you can find the books. But if you are listening, it's www.jonifranks.com. And you can go there and purchase books and see some more on the series. And we highly recommend that you check this out because I'm really excited. And I'm especially excited about the coloring book. I'm not going to lie.
And it's tied to the books. So which is really I like this because I have some excerpts, some of my favorite illustrations and excerpts from the book. So
And these can all be purchased on that website.
absolutely.
Okay, great.
These books are available to bookstores and libraries through Ingram. They're available through my website. And then if you're a Barnes and Noble or an Amazon person, they are there as well.
Oh, perfect. And again, audience, that's Joni Franks, JoniFranks.com. Go to the website, check out the books, check out the series. We highly recommend. We've had other creators on the show that have written books, and we talk about how these books are often I wouldn't say targeted, but for children type books, but we really consider them family books because us adults do like them. But we can also read them to our corgis or our pets. We could get the whole family involved.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I love your content. I love what you're writing about. And I especially love that your corgis have served as your muses.
They are. They're the protagonists. They solve all the problems in the books.
In true corgi fashion.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us. Again, we recommend that you go to jonifranks.com and that you check out this series of books. Follow her on social media. Go to the website. Learn some things. Learn some things about protecting the forests and the environment and anti-bullying and all these delivered from wonderful corgis.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Yes, thank you. And we hope that you have a wonderful evening. And please give your pups some belly scratches for
I
us.
will. Don't worry, they'll get them.
Thank you so much for sharing, Joni. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Our bookshelves are going to be full of all these wonderful books, Kat. Oh, we've lost Kat's audio. There you are.
I apologize. I'm trying to mute and I don't know what is going on with the internet. I'm just gonna have to put in a call to Al Gore or something.
Well, at least you'll have some good reading when the internet goes out. All the
That's
corgi
right.
books.
That's right. I like um in this day and age, especially as you said, children's books that have a lesson, and when they're family books and you read to your kids, eh, sometimes we see ourselves in the antagonist in the
Mm-hmm.
books, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Oh, wait.
it goes back to that escaping reality thing, right? Like that's
Yep.
why I read and that's why I like to if I watch TV. It's all these, the kind of the heavy books that have heavy subjects or heavy movies. It's like normally those aren't my favorite because I'm like life is heavy enough. Give me something lighthearted. But when it has
Very
a
true.
message like that and it's deliverable in such a vehicle, touches my little heart. Well, again, audience, jonifranks.com. Go to the website. Please check out the books. We highly recommend. Not only are you supporting an artist, which we are very pro support artists here, but you're also supporting a corgi mom. And we're all very passionate about that. We're here for you every week with a new episode about the corgi lifestyle. This is our creator series. We also have much more about traveling with your corgi, health, training, shedding, life with corgis, borks, all those wonderful things that comes with being parents. We hope that we see you next week. Like and subscribe this video if you enjoyed it. Follow us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Corgi Town USA. Me and Chuckles here in the studio, along with the rest of the Corgi committee, Booger, Hammer, Mortimer Barnabas, and Kat from her satellite studio today. We will see you next week.
Bye.